All right, folks, we are live. Welcome. It's Monday morning, and we are studying the invocation of presence. To be honest, I don't know which chapter. It's been a while. Hey, Alka, welcome. We just made it the right time. We just began.
Yeah, I'm very glad. Good evening.
So, so fill me in, guys. What did you guys do the last week?
We spoke and chatted and chatted and chatted.
We
Oh,
were
nice.
lost. We were lost because you weren't there.
Oh, now you're more lost. Now you're not even there.
We had no idea what to do.
So what I remember was the last time that I was there, we had just finished chapter 8, and then we spent another meeting discussing creating the list of exercises, which was like the last paragraph of this chapter.
Yes, we discussed that as well.
Yeah. So did
Yes.
you start with chapter 9 at all?
No.
Good. Then I guess we can just start fresh on chapter 9. Does that sound good with you guys?
Yes.
Awesome. So
Yes.
Alka, do you want to get us started?
Yes, am I clear enough?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Remembering to invoke the presence. G was seated at the dinner table, surveying the group with a glance when he noticed R, G's favorite kitchen helper, was not at the table. R, get out of the kitchen, G roared. Come sit with us at the table. You always remain in the kitchen rather than join us at the table. You're always finding things to do in the kitchen, so you can stay in there. This is an example of momentum. However, you do not wish to let this momentum carry you through. You can start a task, and it is natural to work at the task as if you will finish it. But at a school, you must not perform a task just by momentum. The path of least resistance. Learn to break the momentum and, if necessary, do something else. Most people remain in a mood just by momentum. They may change posture, climb out of their state, but return to the mood due to momentum. As R came out of the kitchen to sit with the group, G asked, what formulation would be significant to those who know nothing of the invocation of presence? G's question was met momentarily by silence from the deadpan faces around the chamber. I'm here, and I am here now, are not as effective as I invoke the presence of my presence into the present, G said. Is invocation of presence an early preparatory technique for invocation of the Absolute? M asked. Invocation of presence is not far removed from invocation of the Absolute, G replied. In contemporary Western civilization, people seem to miss performing prayer. M said, due to the trend to adopt the path of the search for spiritual awakening, according to the many Eastern religious traditions, people have been offered what they regard, perhaps even consciously, as a strange form of prayer. Result, there may be people now who actually wish to learn to pray in relation to real ideas.
Let's pause there for a second. That that sentence in that quote is people have been offered what they regard perhaps even unconsciously. I believe you read it as consciously. And so they were given it unconsciously as a strange form of prayer. And that's the critical concept there. So I'm sorry, and keep going, but I thought that might people will be listening to this later. And I
Mhm.
thought that was an important
Sorry, that was a
modification.
miss.
Mhm.
Maybe in my mind, I read it as unconsciously, but I spoke consciously.
Okay.
As a result, there may be people now who actually wish to learn to pray in relation to real ideas. I don't understand this line. As a result, there may be people
Okay.
now who actually wish to learn to pray in relation to real ideas.
Okay. Let's unpack that. It's a great sentence to study. Okay. Good.
Firstly, is he saying that the prayers that people have been offered unconsciously, why is he calling them as strange form prayer?
Well, pretty much anything that is unconscious to me is a strange form of prayer. If you don't penetrate it a little bit, it's not, how could it even be prayer? It's just mechanical repetition of something. So and I'm not sure what EJ means, but I know that that's how I took it, that it's
And it also seems to me that, in Western civilization, people here have a different idea of what it means to pray and what is prayer to them. And it can be uh, very different from what people in the Eastern tradition do, and
Yeah.
which might seem like uh, an alien experience or something just out of the imagination, out of the ordinary. And especially in Western tradition, maybe not in Western, but all around the world, we are used to praying habitually, right? Every Sunday, let's do this. Every Sunday, let's go there, or do this or do that, and it's kind of might have become habitual. So it might seem strange for someone to uh, consciously perform a prayer. That's what it seemed to me when I first went to the ashram in India, and they were doing this bhajan thing in the evening. I was with Rohit, and that experience seemed very strange because I had this notion of what prayer was, and uh, it definitely resembled what the sentence is trying to say.
I mean, it sounded authentic to you, or it sounded a strange
Well,
form of prayer
it
to you?
evoked an emotion in me that usually doesn't happen when I'm praying casually. I don't pray, to be honest. I'm not, and I was never a
So
religious person
that's
as a child, and so I never prayed as a child. So that was like that experience was very alien to me. And I've seen prayers, and I've watched movies, and I've seen all the cultures around me. But that experience of being in that ashram and those people doing bhajans, uh, that experience seemed definitely different
different in
from
what
our
sense?
daily.
In a better sense or in a worse
In a better
sense?
sense, of course, in a better sense.
In
It
a
was,
better sense,
I was
yes.
more involved in it. I was locked in, and
Because there are
I can
different
feel the
kinds of
emotions of
people
everyone
singing
around me.
prayers there. So
okay.
there are
What's that?
sometimes different kinds of people singing prayers there. So I got confused which type is he referring to really. But
Good.
yes, I do agree that is a different zone when they do
Yeah.
bhajans in the evening. That's a completely different frequency. It's a different state.
Since we have the opportunity, because we have Easterners and Westerners here, do you want to like work on the distinction between the forms of prayer as you mentioned, Nikhil
Mm,
or Alka? I mean, you said there's a difference between what might that be?
When I listen to some of the tracks on CD Baby, like some of the tracks that EJ has created in his music, repertoire, are of the same vibrance, like vibrational, if impact on me as I used to get at that ashram during the evening bhajans. So I was stunned because when I was there, I was not able to notice that. Now I'm here and I'm listening to this kind of stuff more. And somebody sent me an audio clip last week of the bhajan in the evening. And I was stunned to notice the similarity in the impact that it creates. So for me, no, those two are not different for me. They are
Okay.
same. Just there's a difference of texture. Like there's a difference of a mild vibe that is contextual to that particular place. That's all. That's what I felt about these two.
Can I add to the Eastern religious tradition? What I realized was that in certain tradition, like we have a habit, like when we enter the house, we generally touch the feet, or we enter a temple and we just put our hand down before we even walk in. So things like that, which just makes you unconsciously just bow down, like you just bow down. Like Eastern tradition, they have this habit of bowing, like the Indians have it, the Japanese have it, the Chinese have it. So like I saw that in the Eastern tradition there are some things where you just bow down when you see somebody. And then there is this dandavat, which is like bowing all the way down, like putting your head down all the way and bowing to the deity or whatever. But some traditions, like say you touch a book and you just touch it, like feel that it's God, and you directly, like, again, like pray to it that sorry I touched you. So these, could we add those as the Eastern religious traditions?
Yeah.
Though you mean those habits?
Yeah, because unconsciously we just do these things, like, like books are considered God, they're considered wisdom. There's certain things like a lot of such things like tulsi, we consider that as auspicious. So some things are so auspicious, like in the evenings you don't cut trees. There's some things which are just consciously in there, like they say you don't do this at this time, and you just follow that tradition because your parents told you and the grandparents told you. And then you realize that there is a different sensitivity or something to it, or you realize more things as you grow older, but you don't know that, but you realize that it's been instilled in you since you were a kid. So
So when you walk through a door, some people have the habit of like bowing a little bit, right?
they generally put the hand down on the earth, and they
Okay.
put it on both their eyes and then over their head. So this is a standard, like even when they're doing arti or something, like the tradition that is given, you look at the deity from left to right and then over the top. So when this entire fire arti is going on, like there is an entire vision of seeing the idol from left to right to all the way to the top, and then going on the top, at the bottom, on the east, on the west, like, that. And then you realize, like, sometimes you listen to Bhagwan's lectures or you listen to somebody else's lectures, and they say that they are praying all the directions, like the east, the west, the north, the south, and all around, or the satyo that you do, right? Like the swastika. So all these traditions, like the om that you say in every mantra. So these mantras that we've got, like these are all the tits and bits of traditions. Like we have housewarming. So housewarming is something where you do fire and you pray, like you do a coconut, you crack a coconut. Even when you get a new car or a new house or any new thing that you get, a new motorcycle, you generally crack a coconut open and you do a red kumkum, to it. It's just something auspicious that's just been passed on, and they take it to the temple. So there's so many such traditions which have been just passed on. Like even if you don't want to do it, your family says you do it.
It's got not too much to do with Eastern or Western. These kind of traditions exist in a lot of different countries, and each country has certain ritualistic things which are scientifically aligned and are scientifically meaningful. So yeah, so we have I don't know if it's about geographical division. India is definitely, or East is definitely, like if we referring, it's just India or Asia is East is definitely has its own sets of beautifully intricate and divine formations, which you, as you said, that as you grow, you understand the science behind them. But I think it's not got to do with, because I have learned, I see myself at somewhere between what I have learned in my childhood. I'm realizing that. And there are things that I have learned from this bunch of Western, peers and teachers that have also imbibed these subtle values in me, which were absent earlier. So I don't know if it is about East or West really, but it's about vibrational.
No, I was just talking in regards of the tradition. So, like that was the only thing I was pointing at. Like when we talk of tradition, then we see that there are certain traditions which are pretty prominent, which I've seen, and I'm basically from India, so I have no additional idea of other traditions around, but I came to US, like, so in 10 years I've seen the traditions here are way too different to what I've seen in India, so then you can see that difference, like even like a housewarming party, like it's so different, or say you have what do you say, when
Baby showering, both
the baby showering. The baby showering is so different, like to what the Indians have, the god bharai, so it's like welcoming the soul, and there is such a unique version of that. So I mean, I don't know, like I just know difference.
I was watching a ritual which is a Pakistani ritual, and I'd never seen it before. What they do is they put the bride and groom under one veil, and all the relatives shower them with flowers. I found that ritual to be so beautiful. And it was so it almost was like they were creating a shield of beauty around that couple. So yes, yeah, of course, India is rich with all of this, but yes, there are so many. And then I was watching that, I don't know where it happened in the UN, where the tribes, one of the tribes, they started a dance. It's a recent occurrence. I don't know the name of that. I think it was a Maori tribe or which tribe, but they started they were members of the assembly, and they started a dance in the assembly. So it takes me to those Native American, wherever you're closer to the roots, basically. And in India right now, we're talking about these rituals, but we are living in cities where people don't bow down. They just don't. So I think it's about staying closer to the roots also.
Yeah, and I think I recall when you mentioned that, I recall one of the African ones, because there was a dancing around that too when there's a certain pregnancy, like they celebrate that pregnancy, and like there is a very different aura around that dancing that was involved, So I think that is very important. I think closer to the roots, that's true.
And then there's a Middle Eastern ritual, again a wedding ritual, where the brother, actually ties a belt like this around the sister's waist before she's going away. So these are all really amazing
rituals.
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 So does it help us answer that last sentence there, Elka?
Real ideas are then not really topographical or uh,
You know,
religion
that's,
bound. They are more aligned to reality of existence.
yeah, I just want to add to what you guys are saying. I heard you guys, Alka and Bhavani, you guys talk about the different kinds of tradition. You know, the two things that come to my mind is so I have seen the first kind of prayer which I have seen my whole life, where people just go to temples and they pray for their family, they pray for their loved ones, they pray for themselves. I want this, I want that. If I
They're
get this,
pushing against each other and they're
yeah. What
pushing each
so
other
so
on the
basically
shivling.
we are all praying for some benefit to either us or people, our loved ones, whereas some of the prayers that I have seen after meeting EJ was completely different experience. For example, prayer absolute
Absolutely.
has nothing to do with me or what I want, or it is basically saying, if I hope I recognize it when I see it, and that has nothing to do with my desires, my wants, my wishes. It is completely on a different scale, or on a different level, where it's not dealing with our animalistic urges, or basic urges or basic needs. So that's one difference that really attracted me to the ideas, and made me want to learn to pray in that way, if that makes any sense.
Mhm. That's
So
beautiful.
clarify that more. That's very good. Try to make it into a nugget. You were seeing something, then you saw something different, and that motivated you to learn to pray in relation to real ideas, right? Something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was in harmony with my deepest self. It wasn't contradicting
Mm.
myself in any ways whatsoever. That's what it felt like. If,
100%.
let's say if I'm praying for money, I don't get it by next week, I'm pissed. Hey, God hates me, and you can be in that loop. Hey, I wanted it, you didn't give it to me, I don't have it now.
A lot of times prayer can be transactional, right? You pray so you can get that better car or a job or the promotion or the husband or the wife or whatever it is, right? That's transactional. That's throughout all religions, it seems like. But Christian mystical prayer is not transactional, but it's Christian. But what would it mean? Pray in relation to real ideas. Goodness.
David,
Yes, sir.
one point that, no, not that we miss it, but the, um, the point, the important point I think is that in the actual prayer, as we are accustomed to Catholics or Christians or even Oriental also, is that we um, we think, we believe there is old birded guy like a father, oh Father, you are in heaven. Yes, and we laugh at it, but anyway, it's a way of asking our Father, a good Father, it's a good Father, not a bad Father, and uh, we in some way we believe in that figure, and we imagine that figure in among the clouds, no, in the heaven. So I think when EJ or some traditions don't talk of God, or at least brings the concept of absolute, it's a good way of erasing that usual idea of us children asking for favors from our old grandfather. No, that's it.
Let's see if the next paragraph gives us any answers, Elka.
I have one comment on this.
Yes, sir.
So, um, different people have different ideas about prayer, what a prayer is. A lot of people feel prayer is you go to temple, or religious place and ask that, oh, give me a good job, give me a good wife or, family, and my kids should be safe. Um, they should get this and that and whatnot. It's just like, okay, asking for something. Some people feel prayer is, you are chanting the God's name to make them happy. That is prayer. Some of them is it is being thankful, that we are thankful to the God. That is prayer. So it maybe it's meaning that what is the real idea of doing the prayer, where it says that there are many people now who actually wish to learn to pray in relation to real ideas. What would be the actual idea behind the prayer?
And
And
has anybody done animal sacrifice lately? You sacrifice a sheep to God, or maybe not that recent then, huh? It
and
used, go ahead.
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to add about the real ideas that when we wish to learn to pray in relation to real ideas, first we need to know what is not real. So I think that comes with experience. When you, like, for example, like you go in these temples, I remember Alka mentioning that you're in this horde, trying to just touch the feet or something, and you're put around, and you
Mhm.
realize that is not what's real. And then you realize, as you keep growing, you feel this is not real, this is not real. And then you keep questioning what is it that's real. And you don't know if you've gotten to the real, but you at least know what is not real,
Okay.
what you're praying for.
Okay, so that's a good point. You begin to understand what is not real. And that might be part of the meaning of the sentence of that last paragraph. They've been given unconscious stuff. Now they want what is a real prayer. So they have a sense. How do you sense something, Bhavani? When you say they sense that
Before
it's
we
not
get to
real.
that, can I please express my
Yes,
experience at my last visit at a crowded temple?
please. Yeah.
Yeah.
People would not want to stand in queues. They would like to push each other and find sly ways to cut each other. They would be staring at each other with angry, red-blooded eyes. Couples would be fighting with each other for not protecting each other. All of these things, like in my 15-20 minutes of waiting, I saw all of this and more. I've
Alka,
seen pundits pushing people.
Alka, I experienced when I was, I think, probably 8 or 9 years old. I was in the Nathdwara temple. If you have known that temple, I got lost in the Srinathji Baba's temple. I was at the point of suffocation, people pushing me where I could not breathe.
Mm.
The
I
time, and
fainted as a kid.
I
I was an
became,
8-year-old kid.
as an 8-year-old kid, I became an atheist. I knew this is not real, and I started searching.
Mm.
And every time a saint came to me, like, I mean, you have all these the babas and sadhus that come to your house, and you just like the moment they do something, you just discard. If like that person got mad at a kid because they didn't do a certain ritual, you just discard that. This is not real. This guy's not real. Like, so since I was like that young, I realized that like what this pushing around is not real. And then there was this one priest. He like, it's just personal experiences where you suddenly realize that these are like crazy guys. And you start searching for real stuff. So like I had that experience of somebody hitting me with a broom when I was a little kid.
Uh-oh.
Those chapatiyas, and I was suffocating to the core, and I swore I'll never go to the temple again. I swore. So like, I think what happens is that, and many such experiences, this was just my youngest experience, but I hated that temple. So you just realize that like, just these experiences which make you suddenly see what's not real. What you're looking for is not this.
Let me ask you
Bhavani, I
this.
mentioned
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Alka.
Bhavani, I mentioned 8 years, not because I knew you were talking about your experience as an 8-year-old. I was about to recite my experience as an 8-year-old when I was just in front of a shivling. And I was this tiny little girl, and I'm suffocating in this huge temple. And I'm telling my mom I'm going to faint. And she's like, "You're just pretending." And she just kept shutting me off. She just kept shutting me off. And you guys will not believe it. I visualized a golden staircase at that moment, like a ladder. Like, I visualized a golden ladder, and I held on to that golden ladder, and I actually passed out. Right.
Yeah.
And then I was carried away.
Yeah, and I was actually lost. My mom, she lost my hand. So I was like in the middle of nobody, like just strangers, like, so much suffocation. Yeah.
Those are, and I went to Catholic, I was brought up in the Catholic school. And I think Bernie might have been as well, Catholic churches. We had similar experiences as you had, but is there a vibratory sensation that says this is real and that is unconscious? Like that ritual of just going. I mean, the herd of people going to temple, and they can't have compassion for the one next to them.
But
That's
David,
wow.
you know what? There was another experience that I had in the same temple after I got married and I went there. And it was so different because when the same time when that arti was going on, there is this idol, and it has a diamond on the chin, and suddenly
Absolutely.
that diamond lit up, and it lit up so bright that I could only see that. And the thing was, for the first time, I just wanted to keep staring at that idol, like the idol was.
Yes.
And the thing was that the same temple which I swore I'd never go to, which I was forced to go every year anyway, and and then you come there almost 10 years later, and then you suddenly realize you have this sudden awe for this idol which you never had before.
Absolutely. Yes.
And you don't know how to explain that.
Okay. Well, that's what we're doing in chapter 9, is trying to explain that. Okay.
Yeah, so the same places can be places for magic, for sure.
Well, so if you can discern the difference, Bhavani, from when you went as a child or even forced to go as a teenager or whatever, and how it was different when you went there for your wedding ceremony, what was different? Was it a different temple?
It was the same temple.
Were there different idols?
No, it was the same idol. And
What was different?
I didn't even want to go there. My
Three,
parents said you're
eight.
supposed to go there because you got married, and my husband has never been there because he's not raised in India. So he's like, we have to take him there. So I was kind of forced to go there again. So it was something I didn't want to do anyway.
So if the physical space was the same, the physical idols were the same, in that, let's ask our mathematician, Nikhil, what was different in that formula?
Bhavini was different.
Ah, and this is the challenge of these chapters that we're reading, to get a sense of the vibratory sensation that could constitute a real idea, a real prayer, and distinguish it from a mechanical prayer. I mean, what an opportunity that is for us, isn't it? We can actually discern the beauty. And then I'm going to ask you another question, Bhavani, is why did you want to sit and stare at that diamond for over ever and ever and ever and ever? You don't need to answer right now. I'm just saying that might be a point of reflection for you. Something happened where you wanted to stare at it. If anybody has spent much time in either temple or church and got into that space of prayer, you might have the exact same sensation.
Anytime I go to a church and I see all these beautiful ornaments and all these beautiful glass structures, I just want to look at them because they're just so beautiful to look at.
So there's a beautiful fact, but what about an invocational factor as well? I mean, some of these, I don't know the Indian sages, but in the Christian mystics, they see a suggestion of Christ and they go into nirvana. They go into a field of, they just want to be in that space. Just before we end this chapter, I want to go, let's read the next one. Self-invocation is a form of prayer, G said. To invoke your presence, to invoke an angelic presence, or to invoke the absolute, the same factors are necessary. In addition, another process, the process of invocation itself, must be reinforced in the same way as a train, which slowly rises from inertness to momentum as it gathers force to accelerate. When invoking presence, take advantage of momentum by adding to it. Maintain the momentum of invocation. What does that even mean? How would you add to it, anybody?
Conscious actions.
Remember chapter 20 of HPM?
What was it called?
I don't know the title, but the book Human Biological Machine.
It's incredible that you remember the material based on the chapter numbers. I was like, oh, chapter 20?
In there, DJ talks about being aware that you are aware, or being aware of your invocation. So when you practice invocation, like bathe in it in a sense, know that you're doing it. It strengthens it. It goes, oh, okay. So a little bit later on, when you go to watch the ball game, Nikhil, with your, you crack open a couple of beers and you're watching whatever it is you watch. Do it consciously, but then you notice that you're doing it. What you're noticing is the vibratory sensation. What does it feel like to be an invocation? The blessedness of it. and to swim in that. And when Bhavani was looking at this particular idol, you know, she, she, there, whatever, helped her get into a space of deep invocation. She was at home. Why would you ever want to leave that, right? But to turn, so we know how to practice. We have all those exercises we did, right, Nikhil?
Yeah.
So we know how to practice.
Well, we
You
we
know,
have so many exercises available at our disposal. That's not the problem ever.
that's the point. That's the point. You know, and when Bhavani was talking about walking through the door and you bow and you do this, that's the doorway exercise, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Practice, same thing. It's just at that moment, and when whoever the guy was that says bow when you go through a doorway, at that moment for that sage, that teacher, he was saying that's when you invoke your presence. But then it just became physically habitual.
Hmm.
Like the Jews, when they walk into their home, they touch that little prayer thing, right?
Mhm.
And then they go in. Well, they don't. You think about it, be it.
This reminded me of something that happened last week in India. Whenever you uh, uh, hit someone's foot or maybe hit someone by mistake, you basically bow down or you touch
Yeah.
their feet or you do something to say that I'm sorry or something like that. So out of mechanical habit, I just hit someone on the leg and I just reached their foot and I just bowed down. And they're like, "Huh? What the fuck are you doing?" And the whole and they just surprised. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't realize that I had done that by out of sheer habit. And it definitely looked totally weird to them and to me.
Mm.
I just want to go back to this momentum.
think
And we introduced it in the beginning of the chapter about this, about R, who is always in the kitchen. And he's being said that you're always finding things to do in the kitchen so you can stay in there. This is an example of momentum. So like I don't understand how like momentum comes into this situation. You're just trying to find something to do in the kitchen out of mechanicality and just stay there.
Yeah,
Like, but how is that momentum though?
that's the habit. Like you start enjoying that space and you start doing it more of like you do it.
Yeah.
You just linger on.
So it's a
It's just
mechanical momentum then.
Maybe not necessarily, but you get into the groove of doing it. You know,
Oh, even though you're doing it unconsciously. Okay.
Uh,
it may be conscious, but it's a conscious momentum.
Okay.
Like this is what chapter. I can't remember what chapter number it was, but it was also in here. I think it's chapter 3 in this book. The concept of no, maybe it was 5, but the concept of knowing your own yes, Swati, knowing your own mechanicality and using your mechanicality to help invoke your presence. Let's say you tend to get judgmental of somebody, and then someone's talking and you go, oh, that jerk, what a jerk this guy is. And you can just, you feel yourself going like that and you go, wow. And use that to invoke your presence. So that habit of when you use that as a trigger, over and over and over again can become a momentum, Nikhil.
Mm-hmm.
But
So go ahead.
in this momentum, aren't they talking of something that you like and you try to keep doing it? So what happens is because what I'm going through this, sorry, still not better. So they're saying that you perform a task just by momentum, the path of least resistance. Learn to break the momentum and, if necessary, do something else. So I think sometimes we want to keep doing something that we like. So we pick a path that we like doing and we keep doing it, keep doing it. So at some point, I think this person doesn't want to sit at the table and interact with the other people because that's not something he likes doing. So he's trying to find something that he likes doing to stay away from something that the person doesn't want to do. And when that happens, you're trying to push yourself into keep doing things you like, and that's not where the real growth is all the time. So I think when he says, however, you do not wish to let this momentum carry you through, so you don't expect to like just expect yourself to know yourself just by going through this momentum, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so what I read it as, the momentum is something that you just like doing and you keep doing that, and you think that by doing what you like is what's going to take you forward. But that is, the resistance is not, the least resistance is not what takes you forward. It's the resistance which actually makes us shine through. Because the more the troubles come to us, the more we realize what's negative in us. That's what helps us see ourselves more.
Inertia, the space between momentum and pause.
Sorry?
Do you say that again?
Is inertia the space between momentum and pause? So you're in momentum, then you're in inertia, and then you stop. Yeah.
I would say one distinction might be like inertia might be unconscious movement, whereas momentum might be a conscious activity you're doing. And I think what EJ's calling R out is that she's working in the kitchen. That's an area of her work that's easy for her, but join the group. That, in other words, shake it up. So momentum, I think maybe we could say momentum might be a more conscious habit that you are working on.
Here's when you're maybe, I don't know if it is conscious
I
or,
guess
but that's when you're putting your force in. Momentum is when you're putting
Yes.
the force in. When you stop putting the force in, there is a certain automatic looping that
Yes,
continues for some time,
That's
which
good.
is
that's momentum, the
inertia.
automatic motion which keeps rolling. So
Till it's finally comes to a halt, no matter how long it takes or how short it takes. That is probably
I think
inertia.
momentum is a series of consistent conscious habits that you do over a period of time and build momentum from it.
If that has to be conscious is again one thing that I'm not sure. There can be force for sure. You're putting in it, but I think momentum can be, force can be put unconsciously as well. Like, it can be put mechanically.
Well,
the reason it may not be unconscious. What was I trying to say? The reason it may not be unconscious in a way is because they're knowingly doing it. Like, this is something they're choosing to do, in the momentum. So they want to
Okay.
keep doing it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that could be because the author here is not using the word habit. He's not saying this is an example of mechanical habit. EJ saying this is an example of momentum. momentum. So there's a distinction, and it might be along with what both of you are saying, is that your injection, conscious injection of energy. So
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know if Nikhil got the answer or he got
Yeah,
something.
yeah. That
okay.
Am I audible?
Yeah, there you are.
yes.
Hi.
Okay, thank you. There was some recent changes in my mic. I am little confused about, he said in second paragraph on the screen, but at the school, no, the same page, yeah. But at the school, you must not perform a task just by momentum. Why is so? The momentum is, he says, like it's actually you want to work, right? I mean, the real work that we are doing, we need a momentum to work on that. But now he's saying at school, you must not perform a task just by the momentum. So what else is needed?
So, Swati, I recall these momentum tasks a lot in the ashram. Some people, they just like doing mumra, and some people, they just want to flip the tortillas, right? Like the rotis.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell them that chop vegetables, they make a face, or if you tell them to do something else, they make a face. So the thing is that you want to do only what you like and not where you're needed. That's what.
Oh, so does he means that what R was doing in kitchen, that is by momentum he was doing?
Yeah, because at one point when they said, "R, get out of the kitchen," G roared, "Come sit with us at the table. You
Okay.
always remain in the kitchen rather than join us at the table." So that shows that this person doesn't like that. So this person is trying to not be at the table.
Okay, so I think
So
then I misunderstood the momentum. I
so what
thought.
is happening is that some people, like even when you do these work at the land or something, you only want to do what you like. So when you're supposed to pick work, like, I noticed that, like, it happens in the ashram. I noticed it happened over here, at the when I was there at the Labor Day. Like, they you pick, or even I would personally, I would pick, what comes, like what I want to do. But then the question is that if somebody needs you somewhere, are you ready to let go of what you like and be there, where you're needed, not what you like, but what you're needed in, right? Where the requirement is. So you might like just picking up leaves, but now you require to dig this hole over here. Can you do that right now? Let go of the leaves and do this. Can you just move out of that momentum of something that you like and get into something that may not be of your, that you may
Okay,
not
okay.
want to
So,
do?
are we, like David must be knowing, down the road in this chapter, do we have methods to get out of, I mean, get rid of that momentum thing? Because I'm experiencing that momentum a lot in recent 6 months. Like, I know that I have to do my refining exercises, I have to do my everyday aarti, but then my machine up till 2 p.m., it will keep like, doing stuff that it wants to do. And recently I started noticing, and it's like more, it's going into that side. So I really need some device to get out, like try to get my machine out of that momentum. So I'm not sure if there, David must be knowing about that.
We'll see. We might get surprised.
Okay.
It's a good chapter.
Yeah, that was a good discussion, guys.
Yeah, very, very, very good.
Let me stop sharing my screen.
And look where we are. Okay, we've come a long way since we began this. It's really quite beautiful to see. Okay. The questions are more subtle, the insights more far-reaching. It's a good thing. So
All right. So let's meet again next week and continue discussing this chapter. And let's see if we have any exercises along the way in this chapter that helps Swati and all of us.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Swati, I'll quickly try to. Should I
Thank you.
quickly try to answer? Or should we wait for the chapter to unfold? When I feel that state, what I do is I have set a basic minimum frequency that I don't have to go below this, and that I have targeted and I have like road mapped it. So in terms of, this is the minimum amount of exercise I'm supposed to do. This is the minimum amount I'm supposed to do. So whenever I find myself dropping that minimum frequency, I start listening to more music to lift me up. I start walking around more and I start drinking more water and I start dancing.
And what I do is I have cards, and all of these cards have exercises. Like this one says Attack at Dawn. This one says Quantum Magic Videos. I have these cards with list of exercises, and I just shuffle and I pick a random card, and there are like a couple of exercises. I say, okay, I'm gonna do this today.
Really
Anything.
nice.
Well,
And
next,
sometimes what happens is I accidentally pick up the exercise that I need the most at that time, at that moment. So it always works out for me.
it'll always be that way.
Yeah.
So
And
Nikhil,
next-
I would be glad if you can roll them into the pill and give.
So next week, we might have somebody else lead the group, okay?
Perfect. Love that.
Maybe Swati will be the leader of the group.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, but Mondays
no.
would be packed. It's my work, like my regular office
See how
hours.
she,
So
see how she is?
I'm sorry.
I'll send you these, Swati.
No, seriously, I would love to, but then the only thing, genuinely, it's my office hours, and if something comes up in like production, I have to attend the call. So that's why, genuinely, no
Miss
doubt
the-
of momentum.
I missed the first minutes. So are you not there, Nikhil?
What's that?
Are you not there next Monday, or you?
I am. But it would be good if someone else takes it as well. That sounds great to me.
Just what I meant by that is get out of your momentum of being a listener and actually doing the administrative work of making it go and read the chapter, calling on people. It's a different role, isn't it, Nikhil?
Yeah.
You've been doing it a while now. So that's all. It was just a kind of quick example of how to get out of your momentum.
Oh,
Nice.
thank you, David. I thought it's something that was needed.
No, just that.
Well, you don't know. You don't know. Anyways. All right. See you guys next Monday.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Right.
Thank you.